Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everybody. Today, how y'all doing on Sunday afternoon here? Well, today I think is going to be a very good show, as usual. And today I want to talk about certain words and how powerful they are and how they could be forms of motivation and guidance, especially since, worldly and in this manosphere space, both sides of it, there's just a lot of stuff to absorb. Most times it's negative. So I think, I've always been, in terms of my character or personality, I'm an optimist. I'm also a realist because I like numbers. So I like understanding the results of things. And today I wanted to have a conversation that maybe we don't usually get a chance to participating or enjoy in this part of the manosphere. But I wanted to talk about thought. What is thought? What is thought for you? What is inspiration? When was the last time you felt inspired about anything? Ideas, which transform into dreams that become reality. How does that work? Do we control it, or is it just random? So I wanted to start. There are several words that's going to come up in this conversation today. And one of them is going to be the word if. And like for the past 3 weeks, that word popped into my mind and it started like on a rotation. And when I meditated on the word, I started to see a lot of different things on why, when I was in elementary school, second or third grade, somewhere in there, when we were learning about if, the teachers used to say, if is a little powerful word, or it's one of the most powerful words in the English language. I mean, next to I, which is a personal pronoun, if is probably the most powerful word, not only in English, but for several languages also, because I think every language has an if as a word. I'm not a linguist, so I can state that affirmatively, but I would think so. And I wanted to look at like patterns of behavior. And does patterns of behavior continue throughout different environments, or can you leave some patterns of behavior from other environments that you may have outgrown presents themselves? Primarily, that would probably start with either one of two things: your education or your economics. Either of those things could potentially transform you and move you from one station of life to another. But when you get to a new environment, does your previous pattern of behavior continues to follow you? Methods of persuasion. There are many types of persuasion. There's forceful persuasion, coercive persuasion, threatening persuasion, obfuscation persuasion. Intimidation and threatening pretty much go together. And there's argumentative, which is like it wears you down. Death by a thousand cuts. That is the worst. But I brought this up because I want you to ask yourself, what's your method of persuasion? How do you persuade people to do things you would like them to do? Are you forceful? Are you deceptive, meaning coercive? Trick people into doing things? Are you intimidating? Are you threatening? Or do you just omit obfuscation? Do you just omit things that you believe either are not important or wouldn't look favorable? And of course, argumentative. How do you persuade people to get what you want in life? Now, some of you may ask, well, what's your persuasive method, Mr. Lee? For me, when I think about something that I want to get done, it always begins with, what am I trying to achieve? What timeline do I want to get it in? And the possibilities of me getting it done and completed. So possibilities is something that I immediately think about. What's the outcome? That's my what if. If I do these things, I'm going to get that outcome or result. And that's why I say in the beginning of the conversation today, I want to start with what if. Because the word opens possibilities to us as a people. I'm not sure how much you guys are aware of, the state of the world right now, globally, whether it's economically or whether it's from, just nations having difficulties with other nations. But I think that we know that we are the world is in flux. The monetary system is in flux. Many parts of our society is in flux. Eastern Europe could wind up having their coldest winter. People are going out into the woods buying chopped wood from guys that are cutting down lumber in the forest. If the lights goes out, we go back to the 1200. You're burning candles, or gas lamps with a wick. So what's happening right now in the world globally is going to be very pivotal because there's a lot of resources and ideas behind the use of those resources that is afoot. But let me not get sidetracked. You know, knowing more than one language is very important. Like in Spanish, the word for yes and the word for if is the same word. So I think that was pretty unique from a etymological standpoint. I think that if you want things to happen, you must first approve them. That's why in Spanish, the word yes approves the if, the possibility that that which it is that you seek. So I really like this word and I examine it with as it pertains to us as a people. What's the Black perspective? And I think this is definitely will be redefined by this space, the Black manosphere and Black men, strong Black men who are determined to take their position in life. What I'd like the chat to consider, those who have been listening to the conversation thus far, what's your what if? If there was the possibility of one thing that you wanted to come true, what would that be? And it could be anything. How would you have to move to see that become a reality? Because I would say over my 60 years, and I would say about 50 of those years were learning, being in school, being in business, whatever. I consider myself a continuous student of life now, no longer of just the academics, but a student in life. So I'm always looking for opportunities that learning may present itself. So as I ask the question, I'd like to see some suggestions. He's being insistent. As I ask the question, what's your what if? What is the one biggest possibility you would like to see happen? It could be for you personally, be for a family member, or it could be for our people as a whole. Any question you really want to answer, somewhere within the solution, you must use the words what if, because you got to solve for the outcome, the possibility outcome, or potential other outcomes where you can limit risk, right? But someone asked the question some time ago, what was the possibility of men flying? And then later, those thoughts became ideas, or maybe they were dreams, then they became ideas, and then they became a fruition. It was built. Another possibility could be, what if we were able to live underwater? The waters are 7 times greater than the landmass. That's a possibility to consider. And of course, everyone the major one that everyone else is considering, what is the possibility of living out of space? I have a possibility that I would want to throw to the audience to ponder, consider. What if black people were the ruling class of the United States? Now, sit on it for a minute. Just don't do a knee jerk reaction. Think about the question. What if black people were the ruling class of the United States? I called out three things that I think may be of importance. What type of country would we have? What type of society would we be? And how would we be an example to other free, independent nations? And I looked at this as a dynamic because, like, if you look at the Latinos, right, the Latinos are moving in a certain direction. They're coming in through Mexico, and wherever they can, they're staying on the west, to the West Coast primarily, from Texas on over to California. I think we need to concentrate ourselves and pick an area, because as things become more difficult, your alliances are going to be important. I'll just say that for now. I'm not going to go into that in any real detail. You know, something else, I was talking with somebody the other day, I don't remember whom. But as we were talking, I asked the question, why do we like to watch slave movies so much? Like, what's that's about? Like, isn't we as a people more diverse from what happened 4 or 5 centuries ago? If that's the only history we want to reference. I mean, but there's more. But however, I mean, don't we have a diverse character, personalities, caring for people, uh, selfish and selflessness, artisans? Why can't there be images that are promoted of us that show the diversity of our character, other than strong black women and even stronger black men wanting to be women? Where are the movies and the books about black people's compassion for others? And where are the promotions of them? And where they're being used in school? Because reading about yourself when you're young, excuse me, has a lot to do with some level of public image relations and the confidence that goes with that. You know, where's our joy? We always see the sadness, but where's our joy? Where are our victories? And I'm asking these questions because it's something that we have to do for us. Who is doing it? And I'm not talking about an individual here or an individual there, or one group or one organization or here and there that may be doing some real positive work. And I'm not trying to knock anyone, but I'm saying, like, when you dwell on a slave movie every 2 to 3 years, and at least I can remember from the 60s or early 70s up until now, that's freaking, you know, 50 freaking years. That's a very painful state of mind to be in over and over and over. And I think now I'm starting to understand the trauma that people speak about in the society, at least in this space. And sometimes women, we know they exaggerate. But if I was to maybe say locate something that might be a contributory to it, watching movies about persecution of your ancestors, the people you care about most, is not is not the way is not the way to grow and go forward. I mean, that's an era in pain for torture, humiliation, and powerlessness. And this is what happened to everyone in this Western hemisphere, whether you're in North America, Central America, South America, the Caribbeans. We all have a shared history. So there's a common psyche to us as a people in this area. Even though we had different colonial masters, those of English, those of Spanish, French, Portuguese, and a host of other languages, if I may forget any. But we who are of the diaspora, we need to learn how to work together and to be more powerfully united. One of the things sometimes I look back and I ask the questions: is there a 400-year-old or 500-year-old white man somewhere writing books and teaching white people to be racist? Because how is it that they were racist 400 years ago, 500 years ago, and they're still the same way now? So then, it's something that they actively maintain. And one of the things I think that they were so skillful, because when you look at the Europeans as tribes, they were warring. They were a warring group of people. Even what's going on right now with this current war in Europe is a war that goes back at least 1,000 years for those people. But what I'm looking at is that these people were able to come together with all their wars and death and strife and loss of family life. They were able to come together with one unison mind. That unison mind is, we must always be on top, and these Negroes or ninjas will always be on the bottom. Because they could disagree, these nations disagree about much. But when it's with regard to whether it's America, UK, Europe, Asia, Australia, wherever they have a kingdom operating, they have no problem showing their racism. They're comfortable in it. And I think
What's going on? Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Can you guys hear me out there in the chat? Can you hear me? All right. Mr. Lee had a power outage. The transformer went out. It's a possibility he may continue to stream today. If not, just stay tuned. But a transformer went out in the, he's out the country. So unfortunately, he's not going to be able to do the stream right this second, but I will keep you guys postponed. Our apologies.